Hello, and welcome to the level guide for R5B2. Before we get started with the actual guide, I'm going to preface this by saying that I do not like this level at all. The variance in difficulty between the alarm doors and their alternatives is so vast that if you don't get the good alarms, it's not even worth attempting prisoner efficiency because of how much more difficult the level is going to be. Because of this, I'm only going to be showing one very specific type of run you can get if you're patient enough to wait for good RNG, and as such will not be covering zones 80, 81, or 317. All in all, this level just feels more like a chore than an actual challenge, and if you don't care about getting prisoner efficiency on every map, I just recommend skipping this because it's just not a fun level to complete. Anyways, with my little rant out of the way, let's get started by talking about loadouts. For guns, there's no special enemy type, so you can really bring whatever you want. The only thing I recommend is one person at least brings a hell rifle so you can shoot scouts if you're doing the overload objective. For tools, you can do whatever you want if you're doing the main objective, although Seafoam is still very powerful for this level. If you're doing the extreme objective, you definitely need to bring Seafoam, and if you're doing prisoner efficiency, you want to bring one of each tool, with your sentry being the auto sentry. Starting off in zone 79, you'll see your main objective is to locate 9 GLP canisters. The first thing you're going to want to do is get on the terminal and list all the GLPs in zone 79, zone 82, 83, and 84. After you do that, you're going to want to list all the OSIPs in zone 316. If you have 9 GLPs between the zones I mentioned and 3 OSIPs in zone 316, you're good to go. Otherwise, you're going to want to restart the level and try again. Inside of zone 79, there's your security door to zone 85, which is in lockdown until you complete the extreme objective, and there's also 2 blood doors, one blood door going to zones 80 and 81, and the other blood door going to zones 82 and 83. Along with this, you'll find both the bulkhead door and the bulkhead door controller for your main objective. Another thing to note is that almost every single zone will have a large amount of spitters in them, and because of this, I will not be individually naming each zone that has spitters. For this guide, we'll be ignoring the 80 and 81 blood door, because not only does it make the alarm for the main bulkhead door harder, it also has a harder alarm door in it, being zone 81, than its zone 83 counterpart. In terms of resources, you're going to be looking at 5 uses of medkits, 5 uses of ammo kits, 4 uses of tool refill kits, and 6 uses of a disinfect pack, along with your bulkhead key. Once you've grabbed everything, go ahead and pull the blood door. Sometimes if you're unlucky, the scout will spawn immediately behind the blood door. The best thing you can do is just try and shoot it as the door opens. Once you kill everything, go head on into zone 82. Inside of zone 82, you will always find one scout along with both your bulkhead door and bulkhead door controller for the extreme objective. For resources, you're looking at 2 uses of medkits, 2 uses of ammo kits, and 2 uses of tool refill kits. Another thing is that this zone has a lot of Seafoam stuff, being trip mines and grenades lying around, so make sure to pick those up if you're doing extreme because it's going to make things a lot easier. You'll also find your security door to zone 83, but requires a cell to power it, so we'll come back here later. Once you've gotten all your resources, go ahead and chuck the bulkhead key in, but before you finish the scan, make sure that you have grabbed all of the GLPs in zone 79 and zone 82, as it's going to save you a headache later on. For those of you doing the main objective, you can skip to this timestamp on screen now. For everybody else, go ahead and finish the team scan and get ready to head on into zone 156. Inside of zone 156, you'll see that your extreme objective is to find and complete 2 different terminal uplinks. One of these terminals will always be found inside of zone 156, while the other will be found outside of it in either zone 157 or in 158. Both zones 157 and 158 are locked by keycards. You only need to go into one of the zones, so find out where your second terminal is and then figure out what keycard you're going to need. Zone 156 itself will always have 2 scouts inside of it. It will also have anywhere from 2 to 4 big enemies, and these big enemies can be either shooters, strikers, or hybrids. Once you find your terminal, start preparing for the uplink, but before you do that, make sure to grab your resources, because you'll be able to find 5 uses of medkits, 6 uses of ammo kits, 2 uses of tool refill kits, and 1 use of a disinfect pack. Regardless of where your terminal location is inside of this zone, you can always make the enemy spawn behind this door, so it should be the only one that you need to Seafoam and put mines on. In order to do this, you need to understand how enemy spawning works. Enemies will always spawn 2 rooms away from you, except uplink terminals are special because enemies will never spawn outside of the zone that the terminal is in. If there is no valid spawn point 2 rooms away, they will choose anything that is 1 room away to spawn in. This doesn't really affect this terminal as much, but for the second terminal, it's important to understand this because you're going to be abusing it. When it comes to C-foaming the door, you can put a C-foam trip mine inside the door frame and shoot it as the door is about to finish closing in order to fully C-foam the door. You want to use C-foam grenades and trip mines to close the door first because it's much more tool efficient and almost all of your tool refill is going to go to the C-foam launcher so you can keep the door closed for the entire uplink terminal. Once you're ready, go ahead and do the full team scan in front of the terminal and have your C-foam guy run over to the door and try his best to keep it closed. As long as that person is holding a tool refill kit, it should be pretty easy to keep the door closed the entire time. Once the last code is put in, go ahead and let the door break down, kill all the enemies, and head over to either zone 157 or 158 to do the full team scan and head into that zone. Inside of zone 157 and 158, you will always find 1 scout and you will occasionally find hybrids in these zones as well. For resources, you're looking at 2 uses of meds, 2 uses of ammo, 2 uses of tool refill, and 1 use of a disinfect pack. For the zone 157 terminal, you have a choice over whether or not you want the enemies to spawn behind room A or room D. Regardless of which one you choose, just make sure that there is at least 1 player standing in each room that they aren't spawning behind. For example, if you want them to spawn in room A, you need to have a player standing in room C, room B, and room D. For your zone 158 terminal, you always want the enemies to spawn behind room D, so once you finish the full team scan, you very quickly need to have players run to rooms A, B, and C. Make sure there's nothing that you left behind because once you finish this terminal, it's going to turn on an error alarm for the rest of the level. Go ahead and make your way back to zone 85, which is the door that was previously in lockdown. It will already be open for you, so whenever you're ready, go on into it. Inside of zone 85, you'll always find a few handfuls of enemies along with your bulkhead key and your bulkhead door and door controller for the overload objective. Additionally, there will be a fog turbine and a disinfect station inside of this zone, and any resource box that does not contain a resource pack will almost always have fog repellers inside of it. For resources, you will find 6 uses of medkits, 8 uses of ammo kits, and 4 uses of tool refill kits. For those of you not doing the overload objective, you can skip to this timestamp on screen right now. Everybody else, get your resources figured out and get ready to head on into zone 315. Inside of zone 315, you will see that the entire zone is covered in infectious fog and that your objective is to gather 5 OSIP vials. You will always find your bulkhead key and 2 OSIP vials inside of zone 315, while the other 3 vials will be behind zone 316 or 317, though for the purposes of this guide we will not be covering 317. The best strategy to deal with this zone is to just have one person, preferably the person with the biotracker, run through and just pull every single room while trying to preserve as many doors as possible. You get more than enough ammo to shoot everything, and trying to stealth clear rooms during an error alarm inside of infectious fog isn't really the best idea. Because of the disinfect station, it does not matter how much infection you accumulate because you'll just be able to get rid of it anyways, and even if you go down, your teammates can just run in and revive you after they kill all the enemies. If you have the biotracker, your only job is to find the security door to zone 316. This security door will always be located in the room below the security door to zone 317. This door here is the most important door that you need to save in this zone because this is the door the enemies will be coming through during the alarm. You're going to want to become intimately familiar with this zone because it's very easy to get lost in it and you're going to be running back and forth through this zone a lot. Before you do the alarm, you're going to want to grab as many resources as you can. In this zone, you'll be able to find 8 uses of medkits, 9 uses of ammo kits, 4 uses of tool refill kits, and 9 uses of disinfect packs. Once you've made sure that you save the door and that most of the zone is clear, go ahead, disinfect, grab your team, and bring them over to the alarm to get ready to start it. The important door that you saved earlier is the only door the enemies will break through, so go ahead, C-foam it, put mines on it, chuck fog repellers around the room, and get ready to start the alarm. This will be a class 4 alarm, so make sure everybody that isn't the C-foam launcher is doing the scans, so the C-foam guy just has to worry about keeping the door closed. When you finish the last scan, go check another fog repeller down, and let the door break so you can clear out all the enemies, and head on into Zone 316. Inside of Zone 316 there will always be 2 scouts. Because of the area wave, you don't have the time to stealth kill these normally, so I would just shoot them every single time without fail. If you pull a room when you shoot them, run back to the bulkhead door and get ready to kill the enemies as they come to you. This should also apply if any of the scouts get set off for whatever reason. Just ignore the room, drop the fog repeller, run all the way back to the bulkhead door. The person with the mine deployer can close any doors that were saved and put mines on them to try and buy you more time and have to deal with less enemies. Once you kill both scouts and deal with the main room of enemies, you have the option of stealth killing or just going loud on the side rooms. Either one doesn't really matter. The airwave will only be able to spawn them from one direction at this point, so it's really up to you. Regardless of what you choose, make sure you grab all 3 OSIPs from the zone, and on your way back to do the main objective, make sure that you grab both the OSIPs in Zone 315 and the bulkhead key. Also be sure to grab your resources for this zone because you'll be able to find 3 uses of medkits, 2 uses of ammo kits, 2 uses of tool refill, and 2 uses of a disinfect pack. Once you've gotten everything, make your way back to Zone 79 to put in the bulkhead key to do your team scan for the main objective. Your bulkhead door to Zone 84 is going to be a Class 3 alarm with the enemy spawning behind this door here. Unless you've done the extreme objective, then you have a coin toss if they have to break down a door or if they're just going to spawn and walk right into your room. Regardless, the alarm itself really isn't all that difficult. Just do the scans, and if you get unlucky with the enemy spawns, they'll slowly trickle into the room, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Finish the scans, kill off any of the remaining enemies, and get ready to head on in to Zone 84. Zone 84 will always have a bunch of big guys and 1 scout inside of it. If you've done the extreme objective, you should have enough ammo to just safely pull every room and shoot them as they come out of the bulkhead door. The only things you're looking for inside of this zone are the cell and the GLPs. You only want to grab the minimum amount of GLPs required to finish the level. In my group's case, we had 5 going in, and Zone 83 had 3 inside of it, so we only needed to grab 1 from this zone. Once you've gotten your cell and all the GLPs that you need from this zone, I recommend you just leave. There's a lot of big guys, so it's not even worth sticking around most of the time. But if you really care about resources, you'll be able to get 2 uses of medkits, 4 uses of ammo kits, and 2 uses of tool refill kits. Go ahead and bring the cell over to the generator inside of Zone 82. The generator is going to be inside of the fog in the same room as the alarm door. Whenever you're ready, go and seafoam and mine both of the doors that lead into that room. The enemies will go through both of these doors, but more enemies will cluster up on the bottom door. Much like the alarm to Zone 316, you want to have 3 players doing the scans, and you can just let the seafoam player keep the bottommost door closed. Once you finish the scans, kill all the enemies, and get ready to head on in to Zone 83. Zone 83 will always have 2 scouts inside of it. Much like the overload objective, it's best to just shoot these scouts and deal with the room afterwards. Chuck a mine on the security door and it will kill most of the enemies that try to funnel out of it. If you get unlucky and both scouts spawn in the same room, and you have 2 hell rifles, the best course of action is to just try and sync up your shots and kill them both at the same time. If you don't have 2 hell rifles and you only have the 1, it's best to just shoot 1 scout and deal with the room and the scout wave. Send 2 people off through the door that the enemies broke down during the Zone 83 alarm door to try and deal with the scout wave as it spawns in. It's really just best to shoot everything including the scout wave. Even if you think you can hammer it, you have enough ammo to just shoot it anyways, and it's right at the end of the mission, so there's really no reason not to. Make your way through the zone and find your last GLPs. There is no extraction alarm on this mission, so as soon as you grab your last GLP, just run straight to extract and complete the level. Once you've done all this, you will have finally beaten R5B2. Due to the nature of RNG, sometimes enemy and resource numbers will be off by plus or minus 1, but for the most part they should be what I show here in the video. Outside of that, leave a comment if you think I missed something, and that's all I've got. You guys have fun.